So now that gets us close to Mao consolidating power.
Then the story after 1949 with Mao is there were divisions within the Communist Party over sort of Mao was impatient. He wanted to transform the country quickly. He had a utopian streak. He thought just as the peasantry could you didn't have to stick to the traditional pattern of moving slowly to socialism and then to communism. The Great Leap Forward was this disastrous policy of his that imagined China outdoing the West in a kind of quick industrialization and move like this. And it was it just didn't, it just didn't work, and all kinds of things were wrong. And that would be we'd need a whole other session to do the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution. But one of the simple ways to think about it is Mao made these kind of disastrous moves and then was partially sidelined and then wanted to get back to power. And there was this struggle between people who are more gradualists, more let's try to work more kind of rationally, and the more utopian side with Mao. And both the Great Leap Forward and then later the Cultural Revolution were Mao's efforts to do things dramatically, even at the risk of chaos, even at the risk of undoing a lot of the kind of slow building of state building going on. And then there were other figures who were more concerned with kind of incremental moves. And then after Mao's death, one of those figures, Deng Xiaoping, ends up being the next long-term paramount leader.
He led to decades of economic progress. His economic reforms led to record-breaking growth for China and so on. But I got to linger on the Great Leap Forward a bit, enough to understand modern-day China. So, as people know, as I'm sure I'll talk about in other episodes, the Great Leap Forward, this agricultural collectivization and rapid attempt to industrialize have killed 30 to 45 million people. It's one of, if not the greatest atrocities in human history. How could Mao be so catastrophically wrong on the policy of collectivization and be so unwilling to see the atrocity and the suffering he's causing enough to change course?
So with the Great Leap Forward, it's caused this incredible famine, just incredible devastation. One of the things that happened was getting very bad information. There was a sense that officials were afraid that if they gave bad news, if they admitted that they were failing to meet these giant targets that were being set, that would be seen as a political mistake. So it got to be a survival mechanism to pass on unrealistic reports on what was going. So some of it was a culture of fear around a great leader that led to not getting accurate information. So that was one part of the dynamic. Ego was a big part of it. There were all kinds of things that were unmoored. When early in the Chinese Communist Party history and power, there was the connection to the Soviet Union, and Mao and Stalin had a connection. After Stalin's death, Mao was haunted by the move toward de-Stalinization and the moves by Khrushchev, and thus laid the groundwork for the Sino-Soviet split. But there was also this kind of obsession with doing things differently that Mao had in that case as well. And you have factional struggles. You have all kinds of things that are happening simultaneously.
There's something I learned about called Gray's Law, which states any sufficiently advanced incompetence is indistinguishable from malice. So I would say when 30 to 45 million people die, it doesn't really matter what the explanation is.